Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. First of all, I would like to welcome all the distinguished panelists in this session that focuses on the efforts that we have made so far to prevent trafficking in persons, especially trafficking of women and girls. I would like to request all the panelists to be brief in their response so that at the end we have some time left to take questions from the audience. So, Iqbal Ahmed Jitto Saab, sir, I would like to start from you. In the previous panel as well, some of the panelists talked about the challenges in the implementation of prevention of trafficking in persons law. So, what do you think? How important is it to have an effective parliamentary oversight for the implementation of this anti-trafficking law?
Thank you. Dr. Saab, it's very important initially to have a law followed by the rules of implementation and the SOPs. But rightly, it is not the only function of the parliament to enact the law. Parliament can enact the law, parliament can allocate the adequate budget for its resources, and parliament can have the oversight. That's very unfortunate that the standing committees in the provincial assemblies and the standing committees in the national assemblies or in the Senate, they are mandated to have oversight on the implementation of these laws, policies, and see the progress and the development plan of those concerned departments. In the rules of procedure and conduct of business of the respective provincial assemblies, in provincial assembly, because I come from a Sindh, unfortunately, last whole tenure of the Sindh assembly, the standing committees were not functional. And I'm looking forward that if there are the parliamentarians from Sindh over here, both from the Treasury and the opposition, they have to play their role to activate the standing committees, because just to make an example, that the Prevention and Protection of a Trafficking Person Act 2018, though it empowers both the federal and the provincial governments to make the rules of implementation. So the home departments at the provincial level are the departments, but 4 years has passed, nobody in the parliament has asked the relevant department why the rules of implementation are not being made. And in National Assembly, the standing committees have these functions. But even there is one lacuna, that is the international compliance. When we see whether it is the GSP plus conventions, whether it is the UN core conventions, whether it is the UN convention on the organized crime, or whether it is the ILO conventions which has the bearing on this subject, this is again that Pakistan, when we ratify or become a state party to any international treaty, we are supposed to make all the provisions of that treaties into the domestic legislation. So this is how we need to include in the rules of business of the provincial assemblies, in the Senate, in the National Assembly, and we need, Sindh Human Rights Commission is trying to develop a manual for the new legislators who are coming for the Sindh Assembly, that how a pro-human rights legislation, whether it is regarding the bonded labor, human trafficking, women, minorities, transgenders, or any other groups. So I very much agree that national commissions or the provincial commissions, we are the oversight and monitoring bodies as well. We are the national human rights institutions, though we are formed by the government, funded by the government, but still we have this autonomy and financial way to go out. So in Sindh Human Rights Commission, in collaboration with SSDO, we wrote to the Sindh Judicial Academy to incorporate the syllabus of the Human Trafficking Sindh Bonded Labor System Abolition Act. We worked with the Sindh Police to incorporate into the police syllabus and design these short courses. So in our mandate of the review of the laws, when we had to review the safeguards, like the district vigilance committees, Madam Shaila Raza Sahiba told, that in Sindh, 29 districts, Sindh Human Rights Commission is trying to find the gaps, lacunas in the law, in the policies, and then to rectify that why at the level of the FIR, a police officer who's sitting at the police station is not able to properly invoke the section of the special law, that is the bonded labor. Section 11, Section 12, Section 13, still we are generally invoking the Pakistan Penal Code, illegal confinement and restraint. So A, education, knowledge of the stakeholders, FIR level. B, prosecution is also neglected area. That there needs to be the collaboration between the prosecution and the investigation so that a case is made out for the conviction. Because in the tip report, last 2 to 3 reports, Sindh government, IG police, Home Secretary, Chief Secretary, Sindh Human Rights Commission, we are having the stock taking. Where are the gaps? What needs to be implemented? So Sindh police and prosecution are having the SOP so that we, Sindh police, we have a good police officer who are sitting in the audience. They established the anti-bonded labor cells in the Mirpur Khas, in the Hyderabad, in the Umarkot. So these efforts needs to be integrated, and this is the whole of a society approach. This is the whole of a government approach, where civil society, where the government, where the departments. But I agree with you, the parliament and human rights, that's the very crucial role where the parliament has to play. It is not only enacting the legislation, but to make sure the implementation.
Thank you, Iqbal sir. Now, coming to you, Ms. Sara Ahmed, we know under your dynamic leadership, Child Protection and Welfare Bureau has been playing an active role for the protection of the rights of children. So, with particular reference to the trafficking of children, so what type of services you are providing?
Assalamu alaikum to all guests. First, before answering your question, I would like to first appreciate SSDO for hosting this conference on a very, very important topic. Also, I would like to appreciate the US Embassy, the State Department, and all organizations and all esteemed guests who have participated and who are part of this mission. Actually, eradicating child trafficking is a mission. It's not just a one time activity, but it's going to take years for us to achieve this goal. And SSU is playing a very, very integral role in this. Now, talking about our role, so I'm heading this government department called the Child Protection and Welfare Bureau, and I'm also a member of the Punjab Assembly. Now, in the last 5 years, we have rescued over 5,000 children who were abused victims, more than 5,000. And you'll be surprised that out of these 5,000 abused victims, more than 70% of the victims were victims of child trafficking. They were those children who were brought to Punjab from other places, or within Punjab also brought to one city from another city, and then over there they were subjected to abuse. So, as my colleagues were mentioning before me, when we talk about children or girls being vulnerable, right? When we talk about children and girls being vulnerable, that's basically that's the category who falls prey to such offenders, who engage them, give them by giving them incentives and schemes, and then they involve them in trafficking activities. Last year, a case was reported to us of 2 girls who were involved in sexual exploitation by their own parents. Their own parents involved them and then sent them to the UAE. And then the UAE ambassador informed us, and then through the governments, we got those girls, and they were above 15 years, and we kept them in the Child Protection Bureau for some time. But imagine what's happening is parents are themselves forcing their own children to be involved in such activities. So our role is to rescue. Whenever case is reported to us, we rescue such children who are children, girls, boys, whoever, who are part of child trafficking. And so I've told you the data also. And what's required is the implementation. I agree that laws and legislation is there regarding child trafficking. The loophole is in the implementation. All stakeholders need to collectively work together, whether it's FIA, whether it's police, whether it's government departments, whether it's prosecution, investigation. We all need to work collectively to, solve this issue, basically. And the other thing that we are doing with victims is we don't just rescue victims, we also rehabilitate them, we educate them. Within our bureau, we have our centers across Punjab in 10 districts, and there we empower them also. So we've started a new program which is called the Empowerment Program, and we're teaching them skills other than education because we believe in moving forward. Because, of course, the law enforcement agencies and police is dealing with the prosecution, all, but my purpose and the purpose of my organization is to give such children or girls and boys a better life. So we are moving towards their rehabilitation and involving them in the socio-economic framework. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. And the numbers you shared are really alarming that out of 5,000 children that you rescued, you said 70% were victims of trafficking. Okay, so when we talk about the implementation of trafficking in persons law in Pakistan, so FIA is the lead agency. So, Ms. Sarwat, I would like to ask from you that as a lead agency, what do you think? So, what types of trafficking, with reference to trafficking of women and children, what types are prevalent in Pakistan? That for what purposes they are usually exploited, and are there any particular reasons for those particular types of exploitation?
जी बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अस्सलाम वालेकुम. First of all, I would like to thank SSDO for organizing such a wonderful event. When we talk about the trafficking, the first and the most important thing is that we should understand the basic concept of trafficking, because most of the time people are confused the word trafficking, because we deal in FIA we deal both trafficking. Normally we use words internal or external, or sometimes we use the words horizontal or vertical. Internal male trafficking within the cities, within the premises of Pakistan, and external out of the country. When we talk about trafficking in person, especially in Pakistan, FIA has the mandate to deal with external trafficking, trafficking beyond our boundaries. But when we talk about internal trafficking, local police has the mandate to deal with that. But with the coordinated efforts, we are trying our best to adopt 3 Ps, not 3 Ps, but 4 Ps policies, that is prevention, protection, prosecution, as well as working relationship with partners. We are working on that, being leading and you can say reporting agency. FIA collect data from all the stakeholders, even local police, even some other departments, public and private, all departments. We collect data, then we compile that data, and then we report it to the US State Department, and tip report was published, on the basis of the FIA data. But that is not specifically FIA data, that is the data of all the stakeholders in the country. We are trying our best because we are mandated to work on TIP and SOM. These are two, human trafficking laws and the smuggling of migrant laws, which were enacted 2020. Basically, these were the laws which were developed in 2018 to address the menace of this trafficking. But I think not only FIA, there must be a collaborative effort between all NGOs, all IGOs, all the stakeholders. Then we will be able to curb and control this menace. Otherwise, it will be difficult if we are unable to create the awareness between the public, between the educational institutions, and between the low areas or far-flung areas or the rural areas. We are unable to curb this menace because it's a very vast area, and without your own will, without the awareness, and without education, proper education, we can't control this on the basis of laws only, which we have. Thank you so much.
Yes, Ms. Sarwat, you very rightly identified the involvement of various stakeholders to counter trafficking in persons in Pakistan. So when we talk about trafficking in persons in our country, so we know UNODC over the last so many years have been consistently supporting the government of Pakistan, whether it's about the drafting of legislation or the capacity building of stakeholders. So, Ms. Shaida Gilani, I would like to learn from you that what is the strategy of UNODC to address this issue of trafficking in women and girls in Pakistan?
Much for SSTO for just giving the platform. Yeah, first of all, I would like to introduce my organization, that UNODC. It's the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, which is the guardian of UN Convention on Transnational Organized Crime, in its two supplementing protocols, Trafficking Protocol and Smuggling of Migrant Protocol. So, in its normative role, we are assisting the member states in development and implementation of the legislation and policies. And in that particular role, we have assisted the Pakistan definitely with the support of our donor, and I would like to appreciate the U.S. State Department, and because in my capacity as program manager, I had implemented U.S. supported project for good 5-6 years, and in that duration, I had the opportunity to assist the government of Pakistan and its relevant agencies in formulation of two, I would say, globally best laws on earth: the trafficking in person law and smuggling of migrant law. Why I'm saying this, and I have the valid reasons, because the focus is on the women and children. I mean, both the laws, when it comes to victim-centered approaches, when it comes to, I mean, the different terminology which we are using, gender mainstreaming, gender sensitive, gender responsive. So you can see all this in those laws. Uh, just give you an example of like if the victim is women or child, the punishments are double. And likewise, when it comes to compensation and protection, and again, these laws provide the right protection and compensation to the, especially to the victim, if the victim is women. And definitely, I cannot forget when I talk about the woman, the child as well. So this was one thing, because I had the opportunity to hear my esteemed speakers of the previous panel as well. And a lot of discussion is around the execution and implementation. So I would again appreciate the government of Pakistan for very timely drafting and approving the bylaws of those laws as well in 2021. And definitely with the support of, I would say, many actors. It's not only the UNODC, many other actors had a very instrumental role in that as well. So very good implementing bylaws, those are of those laws are there, because there was a question that most of the time we assist governments in formulation of laws, but it's I mean in a manner not sufficient, this support, till the time we really I mean, that assistance is in a manner that we ensure the bylaws are there, and then implementation of those laws, how those laws are interpreted, how the application of those laws is there. This is very important, because a lot of issues over the years after even the enactment of laws, uh, mm, and still it is there, that is the interpretation and application of laws. So this is again where the role of, I would say, all the actors is very important, to, because no one organization or government can do wonders, I would say, in silo. So this is very important that we join hands, we really, in our respective mandates, whatever mandate we have as an organization, we support these issues. And again, I would say this is very important. First, the right understanding of the issue, and then the right support should go there. So when it comes to execution, the role of the, I would say, the practitioners, the law enforcement is very important. Quality investigations, again, I had the opportunity to have the comments of few other speakers as well that those are missing. Interagency coordination, this is again an area where we need to, Ms. Sarwat very rightly mentioned that it's not only the FIA. FIA is working as a secretariat, as a coordinating body. So provincial police has a big mandate when it comes to internal trafficking. Uh, and again, I would say the social sector has a huge role. NGOs has a huge role because you cannot address any issue if you really pick a single dimension of the issue and you start to start to address it in a single dimension. You need to adopt a holistic approach. You need to look at the diversity of the context as well, because at what grassroots levels really contributing to those vulnerabilities and then contributing definitely. A lot of speakers talked about the vulnerabilities, and I would echo with them, like this is very important to understand the social diverse context into those diversities, because this is coming from where? The root cause, where I would say the role of the civil society like SSDO and many other organizations have a important role to play, and the NGOs, because like UNODC, we are working at grassroots level with the coordination and support of these organizations. Likewise, like I said, that no single organization can do or can really make any impact till we have really a coordination and partnership, very important. Likewise, coming to the back to the point, again, I would say the role of the law enforcement is very important. The capacity of those enforcement officials is very important. And we should not forget to mention the border officials, because when we talk about the gender mainstreaming and gender responsive policies, so we consider, based on our experience, this is important that on borders, and gender sensitive screening process is very important. And most of the time we ignore the capacity of the border officials. This is very important in detection of the crime specific to women as well. So this is something which we need to look into holistic manner, not like what I mean, as government, what parliamentarian can do or what law enforcement can do. The, like I would say the role of judiciary, prosecution, law enforcement, social sector, they all have a very important role when it comes to protection, when it comes to prevention, when it comes to. So we are working with all the actors as UNODC, and it's not one single organization we are working. We really try to, I mean, where we can support technically, we are supporting, where financially we are supporting. But this is very important that we need to understand. Even private sector, I would say, they have a very important role when it comes to alternate livelihood. And most of the time we forget them that they have this under this corporate social responsibility, they have an important role to play in this. And so where we are engaging them and where we really taking the attention to that as well as. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Shahida. Ditto Saab, coming back to you again. So it is assumed that trafficking in person is both it's basically a result of violation of human rights. So now there are so many reports that indicate that a large number of those trafficked person who are even rescued in Pakistan, what happens? They are re-trafficked. They again fall to that trap of exploitation. So, in your view, what are the reasons that even when we are able to rescue trafficked persons, in the longer run, they again become victims of trafficking? So, where are we lacking?
I think, first of all, we have to understand uh, okay, what are the human rights violations and what are the human rights abuses. When we talk about bonded labor, human trafficking, domestic child labor, commercial sex, exploitation, human organs. So we have to understand that traditionally, state institutions and the terminology of the human right is such when the state or states institutions or the organs or their elements are infringing the realization of the rights given in the constitution or the laws, then that constitutes the human rights violations. But when we say that the realization of the human rights is violated by the non-state actors, like in child marriages, it is the very family, it is the very community, the very society who decides that a child girl has to be given in lieu of a marriage to settle the dispute. So it is the community, it is the society, it is the family. Or when you see the gangs who traffic the children or a woman, so these are the non-state actors. So one terminology is that we need to understand the human rights violations and the human rights abuses. The second is, as a student of law and human rights, the legal framework which we have in our country, that is a bit different than the legal framework which is globally propagated regarding the trafficking in person. Like if you see the Constitution of Pakistan, we have Article 3 which talks about that there shall be no exploitation of any nature. We have Article 11 of the Constitution of Pakistan which says that the human trade, human trafficking, slavery is prohibited in Pakistan. Human trafficking is prohibited. And even the employment of children below the age of 14 years, it is prohibited into Article 11, subsection 3. And then we have other fundamental rights and the principles of policy in Article 35, 37, which says that the work shall be suited to the conditions of the women and children. So they should not be in the exploitative situations. Here the terminology of the compelled labor, the trafficking in persons, sometimes this is not in sync with our legal legislative framework. Either it is a constitution, or if you see our special law, which is the Bonded Labor System Abolition Act of 92 and its previous rules 95, and now after 18th Amendment, when this subject has been devolved, you will not see the word compulsory labor in there, but you will see the date bondage, bonded labor. So the police or the labor department who are executing these things, they had to follow the legal framework which is the Constitution says, which the special law says. Earlier I told that when Sindh Human Rights Commission scrutinized the FIR of the Fatima Furiro case, it was not the only other commissions. Sindh Human Rights Commission, at the initial stage, we analyzed the FIR and we pointed out that the section 374, which is on the forced labor, because in Pakistan Penal Code, we have a statutory law. And if you see from section 369, 370, 371, 372, 373, 374, all these Pakistan Penal Code sections, they criminalize slavery, slave trade, force, even for all these things. So here, no doubt, this law which we are having, Prevention of Controlled Trafficking Person Act, this is a very much victim-centered. And here it is the role of the police has been given the cognizance in that, because police has the jurisdiction, police has the infrastructure, police is mandated under the Code of Civil Procedure Code to do all these things. Why these human rights still occurs? First, there was no reporting so much. You must appreciate now the cases are being reported at the police station. I am very happy that if you can take the data of Sindh Police alone, police team is here, they will give you that 174 cases are registered from 2014 to 2024 of the Sindh Child Marriage Restraint Act alone. People are saying there is no implementation. It is due to the lack of their knowledge. 11 cases are being booked under the Prevention of Human Trafficking Act. So Sindh Police has now dedicated, I'm not going to advocate that they are doing excellent work. There's a lot room to do the work. But having said that, awareness is increasing, people are reporting, media is reporting, the magnitude of population is so, but we cannot make an excuse that if there is a poverty, then the human trafficking should be allowed. If there is a deprivation, we still think that no matter how much punishment you increases, it is not going to solve the problem. It is there is a certainty of the law, then the severity of the law. That is the cornerstone of the criminal justice system. So we need to strengthen the criminal justice system. It is not only the judiciary we are focusing so much. If judiciary has a salaries higher than the same police officer, the same prosecutor, the same probation and parole officer, they needs to be seen through that prism that criminal justice system is not alone, the judiciary alone. So we had failed in country. We are not looking after the other elements of the criminal justice system. We have to focus on the investigation. Police is not all about the security and law and order. How many vehicles are dedicated to the crime scene investigation, to the forensic science, to the digital evidence? That is the area which police needs to tag, that they have to collect the evidence with the ocular, circumstantial, and other all these things. So I think we must appreciate, yes, law is there, awareness is there, recognition is there. It is not only the tip and watch to a two-tier which is having that thing, but when the departments are not realizing, then it is not going to be sustainable. But I see the very ownership of the law enforcement and other department is the manifestation that it is the very function and duty that we had to implement our laws.
Right. We'll now open the forum for some questions from the participants. Do we have any questions? Okay.
Assalamualaikum. This is Shiraz Nazir from Sindh Police over here. Madam Sara mentioned that there are some rehabilitation centers in Punjab. Earlier, Madam Sheila also mentioned there are rehabilitation centers in Sindh, but unfortunately, those are insufficient. Only in Karachi, there are few rehabilitation centers with capacity less than 300 or 400. I'm talking about the city of the population of 30 million. So what are the figures? How many rehabilitation centers are in Punjab and what is their capacity? Madam Sara, can you?
All right. Very relevant question to me. Firstly, I would like to mention that Ms. Sheila Raza also recently visited our bureau, Child Protection Bureau in Lahore, the head office in Lahore, with a delegation of parliamentarians from Sindh to learn from our model to replicate that in Sindh. Number one. Secondly, we are there present in 10 districts of Punjab currently, and we have around 100 children in these district centers living right now. And mostly, like Lahore has around 550 children right now, but the other districts have 100 as per the capacity. So currently there are more than 1,200 children right now living with us, where our other centers are under construction in all districts of Punjab. So in the next 2 years, we will be present across all districts of Punjab. Somewhere we've made small referral units, which are called CPUs. And in some, we have big units called CPIs, which is Child Protection Institute. And the CPU is Child Protection Unit. So when it's overcapacity, we refer it to the nearest divisional headquarter where we are present, our center. So this is the model by which we are operating. And we don't just rehabilitate, we rescue children. So our vehicle, cars go, like if there's a case in DG Khan, they go get the infant to Lahore because our nursery is only in Lahore. We give adoptions also. So in front of me in the last 5 years, I've gotten 133 abandoned babies adopted by very good, suitable families who are doing really good now in life. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Amara Zulfikar, and my question is from my respected guest speakers. Like, we have talked about trafficking of women and children in specifically, but I wanted to ask about the boys. Like, they got trafficked to the main cities and got advantaged, like criminal activities. What about them? what kind of rehabilitations are there in our governmental systems, and what could we do as a citizen to help them to get out of that thing, that criminal background. Thank you.
Very pertinent question. Recently, Sindh Social Welfare Department and we were having a meeting that in Sindh normally we have a shelter homes for the victims, girls and women. So Sindh government is moving now to have the male shelters for such victims as well. But unfortunately, when we talk about human trafficking, yes, we are too much focused on these women and girls, but still the boys, which are unfortunately in such street children, street begging, and the victims of sexual assault in Karachi alone, that's a very unfortunate situation that almost uh, 30,000 some street beggars. So when police is having a crackdown on an anti-beggar campaign, so we are facing which shelter homes for boys and other places like in these things. So yes, we are not only binary in the male, female, but transgenders in that. And the Sarah mentioned about the abandoned children. Yes, this is issue. At least 10 to 11 children are being left daily in Karachi outside the hospital. So Sindh Commission Human Rights is going to have a policy brief that those children are being nurtured for the harvesting, for the human trafficking, and that is now going the roving business in Karachi and other areas in Sindh as well, where these street children, homeless children, destitute children, they particularly boys also become victims to such activities.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions? Okay, I see a couple of hands being raised.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Madam.
My name is Leher Mirza, Pakistan first transgender in Punjab Police. मेरा क्वेश्चन मैडम सारा से है। मैम, चाइल्ड प्रोटेक्शन सेंटर जो है वो आई थिंक बॉयज़ के लिए है, गर्ल्स के लिए नहीं है, क्योंकि हमारे रावलपिंडी में जो प्रोटेक्शन सेंटर है वहाँ पे सिर्फ़ और सिर्फ बॉयज़ को ही रखा जाता है। बहुत सी हमारी ऐसी बच्चियाँ हैं जो सिंध से यहाँ आती हैं, वो 6 साल की, 7 साल की होती हैं, तो जब हम उनको शेल्टर के लिए उनसे रब्ता करते हैं तो वहाँ पे मोस्टली ये कहा जाता है कि यहाँ पे जो है सिर्फ बॉयज़ के लिए है, गर्ल्स के लिए अभी कोई इस तरह की सर्विस प्रोवाइड हम नहीं कर सकते। तो आया क्या फ्यूचर में आप इस चीज़ को देखेंगी कि बच्चियों के लिए भी इसी तरीके का एक सेंटर होना चाहिए, क्योंकि जो प्रोटेक्शन सेंटर है बॉयज़ के लिए वो काफ़ी सिक्योर्ड है और हम लोग उससे मुतमईन भी हैं और बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहा है पूरे पंजाब में। और मैं ये समझती हूँ कि एक लड़कियों के लिए भी इसी तरीक़ा का एक सेंटर होना चाहिए जहाँ पे हम लोग ईज़िली वहाँ पे जाके उनको देख सकें, क्योंकि हमें अदर एनजीओज़ में वो बच्चियों को रेफ़र करना पड़ता है जो मैं ये समझती हूँ कि वो सिक्योर नहीं होती।
थैंक यू। एक तो आपने अपने क्रेडिबल समझती हैं हमारे इदारे को और आपका ट्रस्ट है, इसलिए आप चाहती हैं कि फ़ीमेल्स की भी फैसिलिटी हो। लाहौर में जो हमारा सेंटर है अभी वहाँ पे 250 की कैपेसिटी है और अबव कैपेसिटी 300 लड़कियाँ लाहौर में रह रही हैं। तो वी हैव अ कैपेसिटी फॉर गर्ल्स बट दैट्स ओनली इन लाहौर। लेकिन इन द नेक्स्ट 1 year इंशाल्लाह इट विल बी देयर इन पिंडी ऑल्सो, बिकॉज वी आर इन अ प्रोसेस ऑफ रिक्रूटमेंट बिकॉज ऑफ द चेंजिंग ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट। वो रुक गया था बट नाउ विल बी सून हायरिंग न्यू स्टाफ एंड विल बी अकोमोडेटिंग girls in all our centers which are there. Also, I would appreciate the role of Punjab Police. We have a DIG present here, Ashfaq Sahab, who was very supportive towards child protection when he was posted in Lahore. So I appreciate the role of Punjab Police in terms of child protection also.
One last question.
Yes, please.
This is Atikur Rahman, KP Prosecution. It is highlighted that we have laws but not implemented. Agreed. But my question is, do you not think that the implementation process is so connected with the legislation? Unfortunately, we are not legislating. We are just importing the laws and just take a stamp of assembly. So do you not think that the assemblies and the legislator are not performing their due role in legislation? Thank you.
We'll take one more question and then the panel can answer. Okay, I see a couple of hands being raised.
Yes, please. I have a question, please. I am Shaukat Khan. I have a question from Mr. Serval Butt that is there any online presence of your department to spread awareness among people, not only the victims, the possible victims, as also the perpetrators, so that they could be aware that if they do something wrong, there will be legal consequences for that. So is there any social media awareness?
First, coming to the prosecution, yes, criminal justice system elements all are interconnected and they are all equally important. Regarding, yes, we have imported the laws. Gentlemen, there is no free lunch in the world. If you are a member of the GSP Plus, you have to implement 27 conventions. If you are a member of the Human Rights Council, you make the commitments there that once you become the member of the Human Rights Council, you have to implement, even you have to make the reservations out, and then you have to implement the UN recommendations of these treaty body implementations. Yes, now there is international law is based on voluntarily consent. Vienna Convention on Law of Treaties says that the pacta sunt servanda, it is once you had ratified the treaties, then states are obligated to implement them in the good faith. That is what the UN Charter demands. What is there? The Islamic obligations also demands that once you are party to the international commitments, however you name, pact, treaty, agreement, conventions, charters, you are obligated, because we are a dualist system. Dualist system means we have to translate the provisions of these international law into domestic law, and we are not the monist law that it will become automatically to be interpreted by the courts. So I agree with you that yes, when the legislator is drafting the law, they had to make it public. There had to be wider consultations, and then the implementation needs. It is not the cultural element, it is not the social element, it is the legal element which we are duty bound.
Yes, we have a proper system. We have a CMU complaint management unit, as well as we have recently we have established trafficking in person management information system at our headquarter, immigration headquarter. The reason is that people can register their complaints. They can add their complaints via email, because there are 4 or 5 mechanisms. Either they can send application via post, otherwise via email, as well as they can call on those centers. Trafficking in person management information system having 1059 number, as well as FIA complaint management unit. Any person who is the victim, or who is a person who want to send us application of a victim or inform us anything about the victim, they can call us
on the
and they
helpline.
can register their complaints on those systems.
Thank you. One last question from this table and then we'll wrap it up.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Sir, Saeed Abdul Rahim from Sindh Police, sir. Sir, my 2 observations. Number one, you mentioned this campaign against the wards of state, the child beggars. I was part of that campaign when it was undertaken in Karachi Police. Unfortunately, the Wards of State 1958 Act, cognizance was taken, and unfortunately, all the courts, they slammed the challan on our face. They did not accept that. It's very, very easy to actually talk that the police we need to do a lot more, but these are sort of limitations that we have to face in the field. Number two, based on my experience, came across a very interesting case of trafficking. There were a bunch of Nigerian girls who were overstaying their visit, and they were working as drug mules, running drugs from Balochistan all the way to Punjab. And, somehow it was reported, that their passports have been held as collateral, and but they were working as drug mules. So in the whole schema of things, have we ever envisaged such a scenario that actually, because it's a very victim-centric, Section 3 is very victim-centric, but can we like sort of like fit this scenario into this? Because there were victims, yes, their passports were held as collateral, but the thing they were doing, they were working as drug mules in Pakistan. So I would just like to have your take on that, ma'am.
Quickly, I appreciate Shirazi Saab what you have been doing in Sindh. But देखिए अगर कोई बच्चा स्ट्रीट पे भीख मांगता है सारी दुनिया में it is called the status offense. You cannot lock the child because of a poverty or he or she is begging on the street. हमारे पास वेगरेंसी एक्ट था 1958 का और उसके तहत अगर हम सॉल्यूशन इसका मांग रहे थे तो द सॉल्यूशन ऑफ a child beggar is not in locking up in the jail. The solution is in the child rehabilitation centers. So that what the Sindh government का हमने कोरंगी का जो 10 साल से नहीं बन रहा है, बजट नहीं हो रही, तो उस वक्त भी उस एंटी बेगरी कैंपेन का में पार्ट था. तो आई अपोज दैट थिंग कि मैजिस्ट्रेट कह रहा था कि ये नॉन कॉग्निजेबल ऑफेंस है. वो सिंध चिल्ड्रन एक्ट में भी था, उसके सेक्शन 51 में भी था और ये वेगरेंसी एक्ट में भी था. तो बहुत सी ये प्रैक्टिस हो रही थी कि ट्रांसजेंडर्स एंड चिल्ड्रेन वर अनफॉर्चुनेटली बीइंग लॉक्ड एट द पुलिस, harassed एंड डिस्क्रिमिनेटेड. तो एक एलिमेंट जुडिशरी का ये था कि दिस इज द स्टेटस ऑफेंस व्हिच नीड्स टू बी डेल्ट द रिहैबिलिटेशन. यस, ड्रग और अदर इश्यूज ऐसे ऑफेंसेस हैं, मगर स्टेटिस्टिक्स डेटा ये है कि डेथ पेनल्टीज जिन ऑफेंसेस के लिए पहले पाकिस्तान में 7 ऑफेंसेस के लिए, अभी 27 के लिए, क्या उन ऑफेंसेस को सजा से कमी हुई? आई थिंक द एम्पिरिकल डेटा इज नॉट सपोर्टिंग.